In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to animate a transition effect. Now, transitions are really popular in music videos. They're also very popular in YouTube videos like vlogs, and you'll often see them in advertisements as well. So transitions have a lot of utility. What I really like about an animated transition is you can link up two totally different shots and have them flow into each other seamlessly. Let's jump right into the animation program and see how it's done. A very common and simple transition is a kind of circle opening up like an iris that will go into the next scene. This is obviously a very simple thing to animate because it's just one really basic shape. But I want to do something a little different. The very first stage when designing a transition loop or transition effect is to, well, decide on the design. We could do a simple circle, you could do basic shapes, but I want to do something just a little bit more interesting. So I think I'm gonna do a kind of splat that's like this, maybe not perfectly symmetrical, but it'll be kind of like this. And this is the one shape I'm gonna animate. Now that we've decided on the design, the next thing I'm gonna do is figure out the path of motion. This is gonna be moving just like that circle example where it starts out at the middle and just opens up. I have this 1-point perspective grid here to help me keep everything on track. And the motion path basically, well, not just help me on the motion, but help me on the timing. So I'm gonna draw these little marks here that start out closer at the base, and as I come out they get spread further apart. And this is to help me with where to place the actual drawings. So this is basically working out ahead of time the spacing and timing of this animation. And I might not follow it perfectly, but it's just a guideline to kind of help with straight ahead animation where you don't have keyframes that are already in place for you. With straight ahead animation, you're just drawing everything one after another. So it kind of just helps to make sure that the movement is going faster and faster. I'm gonna draw my first frame, just a tiny little dot here. As this splat is getting bigger, it's also getting a little bit more complex. So it started out as basically just a little dot, and it's starting to grow out these little pieces that are emerging. Whenever your animation is a little bit complex, it's helpful to animate one thing at a time. So now I'm just going to be focusing on this part of the splat that will follow this motion path, and this will get the timing down for how to base the rest of this splat on. So I'll just animate this one section here, and then this will inform everything else I do. Now that I've animated this shape starting out small on the screen and exiting the screen, the next thing to do is to duplicate this layer. So this layer is duplicated, and I'm just gonna move it over on the timeline, say maybe 8 frames, and let's see how this shape looks. Actually, I might move it back a little bit so that it's a little skinnier. Just kind of experiment with how this will look. The next thing I'm going to do is create another layer for color. And I'm going to select my paint bucket tool. So you can see we have this outer contour line and this inner contour line. And I'm going to be adding color in the middle here. So it looks like this. The hard part's over. We've animated the splat, but we have a problem. This still isn't covering the whole screen, so it wouldn't work as a transition because we'd have all this background information. So now it's just a matter of duplicating this, and I'm going to move it over 6 frames, and we just have to keep duplicating this until it covers the whole screen. But this looks kind of stupid. So I'm gonna actually change the color here. of the second clip we duplicated so that you can actually see it. And I think I'm going to move the color up 45 degrees so it'll be kind of this pink and purple. And we'll just use these two colors the whole time to keep it simple. Alright, so this is what we have so far. I'm going to have to go back in and fill in these little gaps here. So there's still a little bit of polishing to do. We're going to duplicate the first layer again. And I'm going to move it over 12 frames total. So now we have this. Let's see here. We still don't have a point where the entire screen is filled. So we have to duplicate this pink one more time, and this should be good. Because with these transition loops, you really want the whole screen to be covered for at least one frame, 1 or 2 frames. That way, when people are editing their videos, they can overlay this on top of 2 different clips and seamlessly connect them together. So here we can see that the whole screen is covered, so this will work perfectly as a transition. Now I just need to polish this up a bit and it's done. To quickly recap how to animate a transition, first, figure out the design. This is the shape or element that you'll animate. Next, make a motion path on its own layer. This path is a guideline for the animation. This will help keep the motion of your animation smooth and ensure that it begins and ends where you want it to. Now you're ready to animate. It's best to animate one section at a time, using the path of motion as a guide. Clean up, color, and polish the animation. Details like shading or highlights can be added. Double check that everything is flowing smoothly. Duplicate and offset the layers so they fill the screen. I like to have 1 to 2 frames where the entire screen is covered in animation before disappearing. Finally, export the clip. I'm exporting in Apple ProRes 4444. Make sure you export with the alpha channel, which makes the background transparent so you can overlay the animation on top of other footage. If you want to learn more cool animation tricks, you can sign up to my animation course email list. You'll get free art and animation tips, as well as be notified when I release a new course. Speaking of courses, my first ever course is now live. It's on animatedloop.com/courses. Currently, the fire animation course is a lonely soul, but I have more courses in the oven, such as a course on 2D animation basics, water effects, and an in-depth storyboarding course. The links to the email list and shop are in the description and pinned comment. In the meantime, feel free to check out all the animation and art tutorials on the channel, like the video you can click on via the end screen.